Here with Richard Schaefer from Ringstar Sports. Richard, good to see you again. Looking forward to this fight, Leo Santa Cruz versus Rafael Rivera. Let's start off with, initially he was supposed to fight Miguel Flores, but due to an ankle injury, the opponent was changed to Rafael Rivera. What did you guys see in Rivera to have him face the three-division world champ, Leo Santa Cruz?
Well, I think you look at his record and you look at his style, he's a very, very exciting fighter. And actually, when Leo came here to the gym, he asked me, what do you think about my new opponent? And I said, well, I think it's safe to say he's more dangerous. It's a more dangerous fight for you than the previous opponent. This kid is going to come to fight. You know, when you're Leo Santa Cruz and you're the best in the division, multiple-time world champion, then you have a target on your back. And these guys, which some people might say, oh, the guy has no chance and so on, this is exactly the kind of fights these other fighters like Rivera have been waiting for all their life. And they know that a win over Leo Santa Cruz will change their life and the life of their family. So Leo has a target on his back, and sometimes when you have these kind of fights, you know, you tend to maybe train a little bit less and maybe cut a day here or cut a day there, and suddenly fights like this become very close and often lead to upsets. And I explained that to Leo, but Leo is a pro, he knows what he's doing, and he knows that this guy's going to come to fight. So I expect fireworks.
Well, we have two Mexicans in the ring, and when there's two Mexicans in there, there's always fireworks, there's always a war. What does Leo have to do to come out victorious on fight night?
Well, I think he needs to use his skills. He needs to do what he does best, which is overwhelm the opponents with punches. He's one of the biggest volume punchers in the sport, and if he keeps him off with the volume of punches, then I think he's going to win. But if Rivera comes in and makes it a close fight and fights a bit from the inside as well, you know, who knows what's going to happen. So I think it's going to be a very, very good fight.
I think so too. Now we know that it's no secret that Leo Santa Cruz wants that fight, that unification fight with Gary Russell Jr. Do you think that's a fight that he needs?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think he necessarily needs, but he wants. And again, this is what great champions do. They call out and they want to unify. They want to fight the best, fighting the best. And that's the kind of fighter Leo Santa Cruz is. And he wants that fight. I know Gary Russell wants that fight. So I am positive that we will see that fight. It's the biggest fight that can be made in that division. So it's a very good fight. But I have to say, as a fight fan, there's another fight which really intrigues me, and I like to see, because first and foremost, I'm a fight fan as well, and that is a Carl Frampton fight. I think that Leo's style and Frampton's fight style are like made for each other. They're exciting fights, and that's in the end of the day what it is. Boxing is a form of entertainment. It is entertainment, and these two guys, Frampton and Santa Cruz, they know how to entertain. So I'd like to see that one as well.
Yeah, I would love to see that one as well. And speaking of, you know, that would be a very interesting trilogy. Speaking of trilogies on Fox Deportes, it'll be the very first time that Marco Antonio Barrera and Erik Morales will meet again, and we'll be calling the fight for Leo Santa Cruz, someone who we know have had the amazing trilogies. What do you make of those two legendary fighters calling the fight of Leo Santa Cruz and Rivera?
Oh, I think that's fantastic. I was fortunate to be involved in the career of Marco Antonio Barrera for many of his fights, promoting many of his fights, including together with Top Rank, that trilogy. So it's great to see them. It's great to see as well that they have put their animosity, which it really was. It was very intense, that they have put that behind them. I think both they got older, and it's nice that both of them are continuing to stay involved in the sport. They have so much to add. They have so much to say. They were there. They lived it. And who better than to commentate on the fight than these two legends?
Definitely going to tune into Fox Supporters for that. And speaking of Mexican warriors, we have Oscar Valdez, who just fought this weekend, and he showed interest in wanting to unify with Leo Santa Cruz. Is that a fight that you think would be possible to make?
Well, I think there's a lot of other fights right now on the horizon for Leo, so I really don't see that right now. But you know, down the road we might see that, but I don't think that's right now. That's right now in the cards. But the other fight I am very excited about as well, which is part of that telecast of the Leos, is the fight between Molina and Figueroa. I think that's going to be a barn burner as well. And then we have Carlos Balderas as well on the card. So it's just top to bottom a great card. It's from a great venue. I call it the indoor war grounds now, because after we've seen in the last fight there with Caleb Plant on how he won the world title again against Uzcadegi, that just, you know, took that venue to a different level, and now to be back in that venue, and we had thousands of people there. It turned out to be great for boxing. So I'm very excited to go there with this card. And the best news is, I mean, it's a safe environment. There are restaurants there, there's parking there, and for $30. For $30, you can go and watch World Championship boxing at the highest level. I mean, it just doesn't really seem to happen anymore, and I expect a great crowd there.
Absolutely, it's a great fight from top to bottom. Stat card February 16th at Microsoft Theater, or if you can't make it on Fox and Fox Deportes. But another exciting card that we were just talking about moments ago is Joyce taking on Bermain Stavern. I know Stavern made a comment saying that he was surprised that at only 7 fights, Joyce is taking this big challenge. What does that say about Joyce?
Well, it just shows you how good Joyce is. Joyce is willing to fight anyone. You know, when he calls out like a Luis Ortiz, or he doesn't just call them out because of wanting to see his name in the news. So that's not what this is about. This guy really is ready to fight anyone in the heavyweight division. He's ranked number 5 in the world now, and I expect him to, by the end of this year, to maybe fight for a world title. You see, you have to see, when you have a fighter like Joyce with a very rich amateur background, a very successful amateur background, including the silver medal at the 2016 Olympics in Rio, where he won where he lost a somewhat controversial division to the eventual gold medalist Tony Yoka in the final. His amateur background cuts short on how many fights he needs from the time of turning pro to fighting for a heavyweight title. We've seen that with Lomachenko as well. Today's amateurs is a different breed of yesterday's amateurs, and it starts with the fact that the amateurs of the past, they used to fight, including at the Olympics, with headgear, and then as they turned pro, that's the first time they took the headgear off. And now amateur boxing, including Olympics, is without headgear. So they are really, it's much more of a professional style now than it was back then. And that's why I'm not surprised to see Joyce, after 7 fights, being ranked number 5 in the world, fighting a former heavyweight world champion, Stavern. And I'm going to look forward. I'm going to be there ringside in London. The fight card, which is topped by James DeGale against Chris Eubank Jr., is going to be available in the US on Showtime, so people can watch the main event and then the semi-main event with Joyce live here on Saturday afternoon, the Saturday the 23rd. And so I can't wait. It's great to see my good old friend Don King again. He's always fun to be around with. So yeah.
With a win over Stavern, who is a former WBC heavyweight champion, does that catapult Joyce into taking on the champions? Well, there's only 2 champions right now, in Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Does that catapult him into fighting those champions? Oh,
I think it will. But you know, there's currently a little tournament going on within the WBA, like a box-off for the regular world title, and I would anticipate that very soon thereafter, Joe is going to be fighting for the regular WBA world title, and then and that could come as early as this summer. I mean, when I say this summer, maybe in May. early summer, May, June. And then towards the end of the year, I would like Joyce to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world, yes. First one of my young Olympians going for this.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to that. And my last question, I know you've been very critical of Anthony Joshua, that he is a champion, he stays in the UK, but now with the talks about him coming over to New York and fighting perhaps Big Baby Miller in June in New York, is that the indication that he's making that crossover to the US?
Well, I wouldn't say that I've been critical of Anthony Joshua. I think Anthony Joshua is a hell of a fighter. He's very charismatic. So one of those guys, and I don't think you need 5 fingers, one of those guys who talks the talk and walks the walk. He's a great champion. My criticism was more that if you are a heavyweight world champion, the good news is, finally, the heavyweight division is the glamour division again. In every interview I do, people ask about the heavyweights, whether if it's Wilder or Fury or Joshua or some of the young guys like Tony Yoka, or we just talked about Joyce, or the knockout king Efe Ajagba, the Nigerian Olympian. There's Ortiz or Baby Miller. There is, I mean, the list goes on. Think about it. 3, 4, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have talked. Nobody talked about the heavyweights. Now we're talking about the heavyweights again. And there's an old saying, boxing goes as the heavyweight division goes. And in a way, we lived in a period with Floyd Mayweather and before that, and Manny Pacquiao, and before that with Oscar De La Hoya, where the heavyweight division sort of like became a forgotten division. And it became a forgotten division because the champions back then were the Klitschkos, and as talented as the Klitschkos were not really world champions. They were the champions of Germany because they fought in Germany. And I believe that if you are the heavyweight champion of the world, you're the champion of the glamour division of the sport, you are the poster child of the sport, and as such, you need, like Ali showed us. Why did Ali become Ali? Because he fought all around the world. He truly was the heavyweight champion of the world. And with Deontay Wilder, I remember when I went over to England early on in Deontay's career, he went to go and fight the former gold medalist from the UK, Harrison, or whatever his name was. And so I was there. So you see, a world champion has to travel, and for Anthony Joshua to just fight in the UK, he sort of like followed the Klitschko's blueprint, who only fought in Germany. So for him to come here, I think finally he's starting to realize that's important.
Well, we'll see what develops with that. Richard, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing February 16, Leo Santa Cruz versus Rafael Rivera live on Fox and Fox Deportes, or if you're here in LA, catch it at the Microsoft Theater. Thank you so much.
No problem, anytime.
Thank you.